The Greedy Milkman. In the serene village of Sundarpur, nestled between green hills and winding rivers, everyone knew everyone. The villagers lived simple lives, farming their land, raising cattle, and sharing meals with neighbors. Among them was a milkman named Ramu, who delivered fresh milk each morning in steel containers, strapped on either side of his rickety bicycle. With a wide grin and a loud voice, he'd yell, "Du, taza du, milk, fresh milk," as he made his rounds. Ramu wasn't always a milkman. Years ago, he had inherited 2 cows from his father, who passed away unexpectedly. With no other trade, Ramu decided to sell milk to earn a living. At first, he was content with what little he made. The villagers trusted him, for he delivered milk with honesty, always arriving on time and never cheating anyone. But as months turned into years, something inside Ramu began to shift. It began one morning when he overheard a conversation between 2 wealthy villagers. "I bought a golden bangle for my wife yesterday. It cost 1,000 rupees, but what joy it brought her," said one. "I'm planning to renovate my home, adding a tiled roof, maybe even a motor pump for water," said the other. Ramu's ears perked up. 1,000 rupees? A tiled roof? A motor pump? These were luxuries he couldn't even dream of. That night, as Ramu sat beside his cows and watched the lamp flicker, his mind wandered. "I work so hard," he thought, "but I earn barely enough to feed myself. While others enjoy gold and comforts, I have nothing but this broken bicycle and 2 tired cows." It was then that a dark idea took root in his mind. The next morning, instead of filling his steel containers with pure milk, Ramu added a small cup of water. Just a little, not enough to be noticed. Just today, he told himself. It's just a little. No one will know. He sold his milk as usual and returned home. To his surprise, no one complained. Encouraged, he added 2 cups the next day, then 3, then 4. Soon, half the container was water. Ramu's profits doubled. He bought a new kurta, polished his bicycle, and even started eating at the tea stall instead of cooking at home. The villagers noticed his transformation. "Ramu Bhai, you're doing well these days," someone said. "Bas thoda mehnat ka phal hai." Just the fruit of a little hard work, Ramu would reply, grinning. But it wasn't hard work. It was fraud. One day, old widow Kamlabai, who had been buying milk from Ramu for years, noticed that her tea tasted weak. "Is your cow unwell?" she asked him the next morning. No, she's fine. "Maybe your tea leaves are old," he said, dismissing her with a laugh. But the doubts had begun. Soon, other villagers began whispering. The milk looked thinner, the cream less than before. Someone even found a tiny insect floating in the milk once. But no one had proof, and Ramu's smile was as charming as ever. One evening, the village priest, Pandit Vishwanath, called Ramu aside after temple prayers. "Ramu, you're young and clever, but greed is like a hungry demon. It devours the one who feeds it." Ramu laughed. "Panditji, I am but a poor milkman. What greed could I possibly have?" The priest looked into his eyes and replied, That is the danger. Greed wears the face of need until it becomes a monster. Ramu left with a nervous smile, but his heart was untouched. He had made more money in the last month than the entire previous year. How could it be wrong? One fateful day, a new milkman arrived in Sundarpur. His name was Hari, a quiet man from the neighboring village of Rampur. He set up a stall at the weekly market, offering fresh milk at a slightly higher price. At first, villagers laughed. Why pay more when Ramu delivers to our homes? But after one taste of Hari's thick, creamy milk, word spread like wildfire. Housewives started comparing. "This tastes like the milk I had years ago," said one. "Look how much malai, cream, it has," said another. Within 2 weeks, half of Ramu's customers switched to Hari. Furious, Ramu confronted Hari. "You're ruining my business." "I'm just selling milk," Hari replied calmly. Ramu knew he had to act fast. In desperation, Ramu began offering discounts. 2 rupees off for each liter, he shouted at doorsteps. But people were no longer interested. Quality, not price, had won them over. So he took an even darker path. He began adding chalk powder and detergent to the milk to make it appear whiter and frothy. "They want thick milk? I'll give it to them," he muttered bitterly. At first, it worked. A few customers returned, but then the complaints began. "My son has stomach pain," said one mother. "The milk smells strange," said another. A village elder sent a sample to the nearby town for testing. When the results returned, they revealed everything adulterated milk. Ramu was summoned to the village panchayat, the local council. The headman, Sarpanch Mohanlal, spoke sternly. "Ramu, you have been found guilty of cheating the people who trusted you. Children have fallen sick. You've put greed before community." The villagers were outraged. Kamlabai, with tears in her eyes, asked, "Was our trust worth so little to you?" Ramu had no words. His head hung low. The panchayat fined him heavily, banned him from selling milk in Sundarpur, and warned other villages about his misdeeds. Ramu returned home that night to an empty hut, 2 cows, and the silence of disgrace. The months that followed were hard. With no income, Ramu sold one of his cows. He tried going to other villages, but word had spread. No one would buy from the greedy milkman. His clothes became torn, his belly thin, and the smile that once charmed everyone had vanished. Children now pointed at him and whispered. Mothers pulled them away. "Don't go near that man. He poisoned our village." Ramu began avoiding people altogether. He spent nights staring at the stars, haunted by the echo of his own conscience. One morning, a knock came at Ramu's door. It was Pandit Vishwanath. "I heard you're feeding your last cow just grass from the roadside," he said. "You know, the temple needs a milk donor for the morning prayers. We can't pay you, but perhaps it will bring some peace to your soul." Ramu looked up with tears in his eyes and nodded. From that day, he began delivering free milk to the temple. At first, just a little. Then, slowly, more. People noticed He repaired his old bicycle, not with flashy paint, but care. He no longer shouted in the streets, just quietly delivered milk to the temple and left. Months passed. The priest began trusting him again. One morning, Hari fell sick and couldn't deliver milk. With no other options, the villagers turned to Ramu. Kamlabai hesitated, but finally asked, "Can you bring milk tomorrow?" Ramu nodded silently. This time, the milk was pure. One day became a week, then a month. Slowly, Ramu's customers returned, not all, but enough. He no longer added water nor powder. He measured every liter honestly and priced it fairly. The villagers were still wary, but they saw the change. Ramu never argued, never boasted. He simply worked. A year later, Ramu stood with bicycle at the same spot in the temple where he had once been scolded. Pandit Vishwanath smiled at him. "Ramu, how do you feel now?" "Empty," Ramu said. "But in a good way. No weight of lies, no hunger for more." The priest nodded. "That is the wealth no coin can buy." Ramu still didn't have gold, or a tiled roof, or a motor pump. But he had respect, he had peace, and most importantly, he had regained his conscience. Years later, when children in Sundarpur asked about the old milkman with the gentle eyes, their parents would say, "He made a mistake, a big one, but he made it right."